Hey, what's up, guys? Blaine Duncan here from Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. We're at episode number 16, and I am joined, as always, by my brother, Austin. What's going on, dude? How you doing tonight?
Dude, I am doing good. I'm happy to be back. We're kicking off Fridays now. We used to be Michael Myers Monday, but Friday, come on. Why wouldn't you want to start the weekend with a little Halloween Lives? And we're fresh off the heels of our best episode thus far, the Halloween Lives 2023 draft. And you can't start this episode without mentioning what just transpired on this little platform of ours.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty fantastic. We've grown a lot just in the last week since that episode dropped, and we had like 1,400 views in the first 3 or 4 days. So thank you to everybody who supported us, everybody who subscribed, everybody who followed on Instagram. We can't tell you how much we appreciate the support, and if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, follow us on Instagram, everything in between lets us know that you like what we're doing and keeps us motivated. But dude, I'm excited for this episode. We unfortunately, we had some major technical difficulties tonight. We had a guest lined up. I'm not even going to say who it was because it's going to be such an awesome episode. I don't want to give it away, but we were literally like 20 minutes into recording the episode and we were just having major technical difficulties with them. So we unfortunately had to punt a little bit, and we're shooting from the hip a little bit on this episode, but we have a really awesome guest who's going to be coming up. We're going to get him back on the show, and I'm really excited. But tonight, we're going to be talking about our top 5 favorite movie. I can't even talk. I'm so excited. I was so excited that he was on the show. I can't get over it. Our top 5 favorite moments from the David Gordon Green trilogy. I don't know what your list looks like. You don't know what my list looks like, but we're just going to get right into it. So I want you to hit me with your first one. These are really going to be in no particular order. Could be from Halloween 18, could be from kills, could be from ends. But we're going to talk about our 5 favorite scenes from each, of those 3 movies.
So I did write mine in order of release, and it's fine if you don't. Just know I'm more organized, more structured, overall just better. For my first top 5 of this recent trilogy, which we've talked plenty on this show about, how much we appreciate the new trilogy for what it is. We're not, super diehard fanboys. There's definitely flaws with it. But for me, getting to see Michael back in the theaters, actually for my first time in my life being able to watch Michael in the theater, my number one moment is the opening to Halloween 2018. That really eerie. I love the soundtrack, just knocked it out of the park again. John Carpenter, and it's you're in Smith's Grove, which if you're following from H1, you really don't see much of the inside of Smith's Grove. So it was kind of interesting to, get that vibe. And, it's funny because Sartain says there's even a worse place that Michael is going to, and it's hard to imagine somewhere worse than this. But Michael's, on this checkerboard outside, their outside time. And the suspense that builds up in that scene. So I recently broke my tradition of only watching the Halloween films in October. I had to do, and I think this is going to have to be a thing in April for me, is like a halfway to Halloween, just let it loose. I didn't watch the original because that's just sacrilegious.
I'm going to give you I'm going to cut you a little bit of slack that you watched some of the Halloween films in April just because it is halfway to Halloween. But otherwise, if this would have been like, if this would be like December or something, I would disown you as my brother. We wouldn't even be doing this podcast. I'd find another co-host.
I wouldn't blame you. It's just like, dude, this, and we've talked about how this show is like keeping that spirit alive, but God, man, sometimes I just need to watch my favorite movies. And so I was rewatching the David Gordon Green trilogy. So it's perfect that we're doing this now. It's kind of fresh in my mind, and that opening scene still sticks out to me. I think the anticipation of finally seeing, we had seen all these set photos, we had seen the trailers, everything was looking like they were taking so much care to be like the original. My hopes were through the ceiling, and that opening, you got basically us in the movie, the podcasters going up and talking to Michael Myers, and it's the people are screaming. The one guy is singing a song that they end up playing in Halloween Kills.
Which is probably not something a lot of people know about, but that is, you're right. It's a little known or unknown fact, I guess. Yeah.
I'm going to be like kind of pretentious because I just watched these, and now after seeing ends going back, you're able to like Willie the kids in Halloween Kills. It's whatever. But that final, him holding up the mask saying, what does he say? Say something. And then it cuts to that intro with the reanimation of the original pumpkin. Dude, the chills were running through my body. That was absolutely one of the most incredible ways to have Michael come back to the theaters. And just talking about it, I get excited and nostalgic back for, only 5 years ago, but it was such a great way to kick off this new trilogy. And, I wouldn't change anything about that scene. I love how creeped out I got, and just that suspense, man, that suspense.
It was a great, like, cold opening. You really didn't know what to expect. You had the slamming doors inside the Smith's Grove, the buzzer going off, and the patients moving slowly. I agree. I thought it was a great opening. The big thing for me too, like you mentioned, was when the credits started to roll and the pumpkin, inflated. Or whatever came back to life. That was so cool, and you had that climactic build up, and then boom, Halloween across the screen. And it was freaking badass. Great opening. I love those characters. Those two characters, I thought they were really fun. I'm definitely the male version. You're the female. If we were gonna be in that movie, you would definitely take that role. But I think that this opening was a great hook, even for people who didn't know the series that well. It was a great way to really hook people in. And they were like, I know that mask. I might not know much about Halloween or the backstory, but I do know that mask. And that was a good one. So, I love it. Since you set the standard and you start out with 18, I might as well just stick with it. You set the bar high. I don't want to screw that up. So I'm going to go with I didn't know what else to call it, but I'm calling it the trick-or-treating scene from Halloween 18. It's the long, extended scene where it starts out, Michael runs into two trick-or-treaters and they're like, sorry, mister, or whatever the hell they say. And then he ends up, walking over to the garage. He grabs the hammer. He goes in, smacks the lady with curlers in her hair. You think he's going to you think he's going to kill the baby, but he walks past the baby, goes back outside. In the meantime, you've got all this great music that's playing. And then he goes in and the girl's on the phone and she's looking out the window and he freaking stabs her through the back of the head. Such a great scene. They did such a great job of making that feel like Halloween. Like, I think about when I was a kid and I was out trick-or-treating, it may not have looked quite that cool, especially since we grew up, you and I grew up in Minnesota where it was always cold as hell on Halloween and half the time we had snow. So it never really looked like that. But when I think about the ultimate Halloween look and what I would want that day to feel like, that was definitely it. They did a great job. The lighting, the decorations, everything was super cool. Even just like the sound of kids like running the streets, like you could hear them laughing and giggling in the background. Just gave you that sort of nostalgic feel. Great scene. Loved it. Michael was badass. I loved how when you first see him, he kind of turns his head very quickly just to kind of not allow us to see that mask for a very long time. And then obviously you get that reflection in the window when he looks in at the girl who's inside her house talking on the phone. I thought that was perfect. I actually wish they had done more of that. I kind of didn't like the fact that we saw Michael wearing the mask so early on when he slips the mask on and he pulls it from the trunk at the gas station. I wanted that to be a little bit drawn out. I didn't like that necessarily. I wish they would have taken some more time in doing that. But I really did like that scene where you're seeing that reflection off the glass. The worst part about this scene was the fact that we actually got this clip before the movie came out, which I thought was a terrible marketing idea. I mean, it obviously really showed the fans and the people who are going to be seeing it what this movie was going to be like, but it's one of the greatest scenes, I feel like, at least in 2018, if not the whole David Gordon Green trilogy. And they gave us the whole damn thing right off the bat. And so it wasn't really a surprise when you saw it in the theaters. And I think, if I hadn't have seen that and I had been watching it in the movie theater and seeing that scene, I would have just been completely blown away. So what's your thoughts on that scene?
Not only is this in my top 5 moments of the David Gordon Green trilogy, this is probably a top 5 favorite Halloween moment for me. So this made my list as well. And I think you hit on all the great points, man. One thing that I do want to talk about, one shot that really I just freaking love, man, is after he peers in the window and he sees like, that's my next target. Mm-hmm. The one shot continues and you see this massive shadow of Michael going down the side of the neighboring house. Yes. And then you see Michael's real shadow itself, or it might be the silhouette of Michael that follows. But it's so great, and it shows kind of to me, and maybe I'm reading into it like a high school English teacher, but I'm like, this guy's larger than life, and he's passing through. It's kind of like the angel of death coming through the town. Right. I adore this scene, man. I think it's probably the best shot in Halloween other than the opening, and I love that they did the opening of H78. I love that they did that callback where they were going to do another long one-shot scene, man. I can't say enough good stuff about this scene because to me it's perfect. I think I agree, like the vibe of Halloween that night. You got the kids trick-or-treating, but you've got you've got the parents who are handing out candy. You've got the nurse and the doctor
that you see in Kills. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Who play a way bigger part in Kills. Right. And like I said, after watching these movies recently, it's really nice to see all the kind of foreshadowing that they did. You can tell there was a lot of thought put into that, but you kind of see people are doing Halloween their own way, and that kind of chaotic, everybody's moving is kind of what brings back like Halloween memories for me. Love that scene, man.
And the other thing that I think is kind of cool about that scene is, Michael Myers is such a distant memory of Haddonfield. So the idea of this dude walking down the street in plain sight, passing by little kids, like kids literally running into him, parents walking past him, that kind of thing. Nobody knows who the hell Michael Myers is at this point. Nobody is putting 2 and 2 together. So he's hidden in plain sight, so to speak. And I just love that. I love the way he moves around. Like you talked about the shadow moving down the house, the side of the house or the garage or whatever it is. Super, super awesome scene. Worst part is we got it before the movie came out and it kind of spoiled it a little bit, but definitely a great scene. I agree with you. Maybe of the entire franchise, a top 5 scene for sure. Because it's just such a sweet, well done, well shot scene, and can't say enough good things about it. So you got anything else from the 18?
No, I don't. But I was just thinking as you were saying that real quick, I think if I had to tell somebody who had recently come out of an Amish community, and we can say that because they're not watching this show, I think if they said, who is Michael Myers? I think I'd play that. And then, they'd go back to their community and start praying immediately. But like, that is such a great, little perfect bubble of who Michael is. Right. But yeah, for 2018, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything from 2018?
I do. So I'm gonna just roll. I'm gonna just keep rolling since we're on 2018. Another favorite scene of mine from the David Gordon Green trilogy is the entire scene that I call "The Shape Hunts Allison." Not only do we get a fantastic song, probably for me outside of the original 1978 Halloween theme and then the original Laurie's theme. I love The Shape Hunts Allison from that scene. And the scene that we're talking about is the scene where Oscar is in the backyard. He just kind of confessed to Allison that he's interested in her. Allison and Cameron had their big fight, and she's going, her way, and Cameron's going his way. And you've got Oscar just saying, "Hey, I'll be your guy, right? I'll be your guy." And she blows him off and is like, "No, I'm not interested in this." Like, he even tries to kiss her, I think. And so she ends up she leaves his ass in this backyard. And there's this just awesome freaking scene. I mean, just great writing. Whoever thought of this idea was fantastic. Where you see Michael standing off in the distance when Oscar's, he's sitting on the ground and he's shit faced and he's whatever. And you see the shape, you see Michael in the background, and he's like, hey, Mr. Elrod. And which is cool because that's a reference to Halloween 2, which is the older couple in the beginning of Halloween 2. That was the Elrods. You have that. He says, "Hey, Mr. Elrod," and then he says something along the lines of, and I'm probably not going to say this perfectly, but have you ever wanted a girl so bad but you just couldn't have her? So he says something like that, and it's like, oh damn, that is sweet because it's Michael, and he doesn't know it's Michael, but it's Michael, and it's Michael who wants Laurie. He doesn't want her in any kind of like relationship or sexual way. He just wants to fucking kill her, and that's awesome. And then you've got like the light, the backyard floodlight. It's on, the motion light, and then it goes off, and then it comes back on, and all of a sudden Michael is like close. He's super close, and he's like. Oscar's kind of taken back by it, like, whoa, what's the deal? And then the light goes off again, and when it comes back on, Michael freaking attacks Oscar, and Oscar runs away, tries to climb up this fence, and he slips, and he ends up taking the freaking gate or the fence rod through the face, goes out his mouth. Great, practical effects in that scene. There was no CGI or any of that bullshit. Just really great effects by Christopher Nelson. And then Allison comes back, and that's when we get the awesome song, the Shape Hunts Allison, and she sees Oscar hanging there, and I remember, dude, it like gives me goosebumps when I talk about this scene. I remember sitting in the theater. You and I, unfortunately, didn't see this movie together the first time that it came out, but I remember sitting in the theater, and I was with our cousin, and I looked at him, and I was like, holy shit. This is because it was a little slow. I think I've talked about this. The first time I saw Halloween 18, I wasn't really a big fan of it. Like it was cool to see Mike back up on the screen. I was excited that we were going to, potentially have this trilogy, but I wasn't blown away by it. Let's say that. And I remember I turned to our cousin and I was like, holy shit. Like that's when I knew this movie was going to be sweet, that it would grow on me over the years. And it definitely has. And that is no doubt one of my favorite scenes, definitely in this trilogy. And again, within the entire franchise.
I totally agree. I think there are two moments in Halloween 2018 that, really solidify it for me. And one is Michael's Rampage. Because I was having that same feeling watching it in the theater. I get over the initial excitement of like that opening scene, and then it's, like I said, it has some very like, I don't know how else to describe it, but Blumhouse vibes throughout the film. Right. And the Shape Hunts Allison scene was the, oh shit, like this is Halloween, no doubt about it. Like any like worries, concerns you had should be alleviated now, because that the fear, and obviously the synth is crazy, but that like distorted guitar that comes in, bro,
it's fucking badass. Yeah,
I was losing it, man. I was like almost jumping out of my seat in the theater. But yeah, no, that is absolutely one of the best scenes. Love the have you ever wanted a girl so bad but you just couldn't have her? Right. Because there is, I mean, like you said, it's not sexual, it's not like emotional, but there is sort of this like weird, pairing of the two. I mean, or Laurie walking down in the first movie singing "I wish I had you all alone" or "To myself" or whatever, that eventually plays, I believe, in Halloween 2018. But it's that weird love story between the two is definitely a huge factor, and I love that they did that. Great scene from 2018.
Definitely. So that's all I have for 2018. So we'll move on to kills. I'm sure you have at least one from kills. Let's hear that.
I have a singular favorite moment from kills. We've talked pretty extensively how the movie to us, I think it's weird. It's another one, you either love or hate this movie. I wouldn't say I hate it, but it definitely, I think it's the weakest writing in all three movies. And Anthony Michael Hall's character is just too much for me in that film. But the firefighter opening in Halloween Kills, I think, is so sweet. I mean, you get Michael basically probably for the first time ever, like a super choreographed fight scene with Michael, where he's taking down all these guys. I love, you know, the firefighters are going in there trying to do the right thing and save anybody who might be in there. And I, you know, people were thinking, how is Michael going to survive the fire? He's in the gun safe. It's perfect. And, you know, you see his reflection in the broken face shield of the downed firefighter. And then, you know, obviously comes out and everybody, all the firefighters standing outside kind of know, like, what the hell's going on here? Like this,
right.
This guy doesn't look like he's friendly.
Right. Well, you can just see them like tense up and they're like, okay, we're going to war. Like this, they just know because he comes out and he's got that Halligan tool and he's standing on the front steps and it's like, he's ready to whoop some ass. And those guys all collectively are like, all right, I guess we're going to do this, you know?
I think visually him impaling the guy with the Halligan bar and lifting him up in the sky. Like, I don't know how strong those things are. I don't know if that's physically possible, but visually one of the best shots in the trilogy. I just love how badass Michael is. And it's a great tone setter for the rest of the film, because it's like, you're going to watch Michael Myers kill a lot of people today. That's what you have signed up for. No better way to do it than have him just absolutely wipe out a squad of firefighters right off the bat. What do you think of that scene?
Great scene. Didn't, like you kind of, you know, talked about, didn't know how they were necessarily going to save Michael. He's trapped in this burning basement. He's locked in there. How the hell are they going to make this happen? And yeah, they had this idea that, okay, let's put him in a gun safe, maybe be a little bit insulated from the heat. And, you know, he makes his way through. Obviously you have the firefighter falls through the floor, which creates that opening. And, you know, and I love this scene where the firefighter, he's like reaching his hand in for his partner. He's reaching, he's like, take my hand. And all of a sudden it's just Michael just freaking grabs him, you know, and pulls him. I think that's what he does. I think he grabs him and then he stabs him, or he hits him with the Halligan, if I remember right. And I guess I don't remember exactly how it goes, but I think he grabs onto him. And yeah, when he goes outside, I love the fact that they come after him with the big saw, you know, and he's just like, he just turns it on the firefighter and the freaking blood sprays all over the place. We just shared on our Instagram page just this past week that there was a scene where we see Aaron Armstrong, who was one of the stunt doubles for James Jude Courtney. You see him practicing that scene, and he's doing it in the mask, which is super cool. But like you talked about, a lot of it's a very choreographed scene that we probably really have not. I mean, I'm sure you have some here and there, but not to that extent that we saw, where you had 5 or 6 different actors engaging with each other, and people have to be on their mark, and a very violent scene, but very cool. Loved that whole scene, and just the fire burning behind Michael. Plus then obviously you got the damage that he received to the mask. His mask was melted to his face a little bit. Very, very cool. So
I do want to say it does kind of set up the eventual like mob attack scene. You are now aware that Michael can handle fighting a group of people at once.
Right. No, that's a good point. I never thought about that, but you're right. It does kind of, it leads us down that road that it's Michael is not worried about, a 1-on-5 or a 1-on-10. He's just, he's a machine. And it does obviously set the tone for the kills part of Halloween Kills. Totally. Much like you, I only have one from Halloween Kills, a scene that I really enjoy. And it is the Big John, Little John scene with the trick-or-treaters and their explanation. Their explanation about the house being haunted, and, Judith was stabbed in the tits, as he says. I love that because it adds another level, like an element of realism to that story, that this house was sort of brought back into the community, was purchased by, new owners, and they fixed it up and tried to make it a part of the community again. But that there was this very dark underlying story that happened there, obviously with the killing of Judith Myers and it being Michael Myers' home. But I love that scene where, the doorbell rings and, there's the kids are playing tricks on these people by saying that their friend has a razor blade and that they got the razor blade from their house and all this shit. I mean, it's just classic like Halloween, folklore, which I actually have looked into that a little bit. I don't think there's ever actually been a report that somebody has actually gotten a razor blade out of a piece of candy, but but they take us there. And so they show, I think it's a girl. I don't know. I think it's a girl who's laying on the ground. And she's got like puke and shit all over the place. And obviously Big John, Little John, are the this gay couple that are living in the house, and they come out and they're like freaked out and they're like, oh my God. And then the door slams to the front door, or, their front door slams, and they both look at each other like, what the hell, somebody's in our house. And then out pops this other trick-or-treater, and I love the fact that he's wearing I believe he's wearing the skull mask from the Halloween 3 Silver Shamrock masks, and it's just a great scene. And then they go on to tell the story about how the house is haunted, and you can hear Judith crying out at night or whatever it is that they say. But then obviously that leads into the scene where Michael does kill both of them, and they discover that somebody is in the house because there's a bloody handprint from Michael's basically hand stump that is on the wall, but it's on the back door, and they know somebody's in the house, and they each grab, like, the one dude grabs like a little paring knife basically, and they try to track Michael down, and they both get freaking whacked. But I just love that scene because it's like folklore, Halloween history, not only Halloween the holiday, but Halloween the franchise. It's all kind of intertwined together. And again, I love the fact that this character of the Myers house, which is a character in some senses, or in some sense, being, especially in the 1978 film, where there was a huge focus on that house in that movie, that they bring that back. And we obviously got that in Halloween Resurrection, we had the Myers house still existed. But I just love the fact that it's been cleaned up. It's you're seeing exactly how you saw it in 1978, but just very nicely decorated, and it looks awesome. So yeah, that was a scene that I wanted to throw out from Halloween Kills that I love.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out the knife thing, because the whole time, like I said, I just watched it and I had to chuckle when he's like, I've got this knife, and he's got a butcher knife, and the guy grabs like a charcuterie knife, and he like picks it up. He's like, I've got this knife. Yeah,
right.
I love that scene. And I do like, for the most part, I think outside of Michael Myers, Halloween is a pretty like paranormal night, in most of the folklore, like you're saying. So to have Judith Myers be like a ghost, dude, I love it. And it's something like I had never thought about before this film. And yeah, no, totally great scene.
It is. It's a good one. So we that's all we had for Halloween Kills. You probably, if you've listened to any of our episodes, you probably know how Austin and I feel about Kills. Not necessarily our favorite. It's for sure my least favorite of the trilogy. Not saying it's a bad movie. It's just not my favorite of the three. But we're gonna move on to Halloween Ends. What do you have for Halloween Ends?
So I'm noticing a trend, and I think it's that David Gordon Green really rocks the shit out of the opening of his movies, these cold opens.
Yeah.
And I'm going with Jeremy, I believe, Allen's death at the beginning of Halloween Ends, man. It is so brutal, and there's no winners. Like, it is right. Tough. I mean, for me, like, I knew I had basically read the script before I went into Halloween Ends, and it was still like, I wonder if I really did. And because I had read in the opening scene, this new character accidentally kills a kid, and then I see Corey Cunningham pull up to babysit at this place, and I'm like, oh shit, like,
right,
I know what's about to happen. And you got Corey saying like, we're gonna have a good time. And the way it plays out, they kind of play that Corey's maybe a little afraid of Michael Myers, just like Jeremy. And he's locked in that attic, and he's like, okay, this isn't funny anymore, and he's trying to open it, and the kid's being a little shit. I mean, he knocks, or earlier he's like, I'm not gonna listen to some ugly ass boy babysitter or whatever. Right. And it's like, they did a good job in these movies of like the babysat kids are all like little shits, which
every kid in the trilogy is a little shit. Every single one of them. I mean, you had Julian in part one, even though he was cool and he was funny, like he was a little asshole.
Totally.
You had the kids. Well, in the flashback scene, you had the kids, who were assholes. You had, the kids who end up getting killed at the playground. They were assholes. Yeah. The kids. I mean, everybody's asshole. All these kids are assholes. So yeah, I hear you.
I would hate to be David Gordon Green's child. I'd have some questions on like, what did you think of me, Dad?
Right.
But yeah, no. And then obviously you get him. He kicks open the door. You kind of get like a quick edit. And you see it hits Jeremy, and they've been showing this huge staircase this whole time. Obviously, this is a pretty well-to-do family. They've got like a nice piano in there. And dude, it's just horrible timing. He's jokingly saying like, I'm going to kill you, Jeremy. Mm-hmm. And that's right as the Allens walk in, and they walk in and immediately just like a watermelon hitting the ground, man. Their kid is just dead right in front of it's a horrifying scene. And like, usually the deaths in these movies are like to a degree unrealistic. Like they're a little less accidental, I guess. And for like a very realistic accidental death, pretty, tough on the heart just to start off the movie. And I think it sets up Corey Cunningham's character beautifully. But yeah, it was definitely like, even for a guy that knew what was going to happen, I can't imagine for like you not knowing that kid was going to explode on the ground. Why?
Yeah. And then she like screams up, what did you do? Or what have you done? Or whatever she says. Yeah. It's a heart-wrenching scene because you're watching this little kid, fall to his death. So let me ask you this, and you might not be able to answer this because you read the script or you knew kind of what was happening. But my feeling was like, was there some undertone going on between Corey and Mrs. Allen? Like, I kind of got a little bit of like the pool boy sense of that that scene, that maybe there was something going on behind the scenes, or they were alluding to that a little bit. Did you get that feeling at all?
I've never thought of it specifically until now, but like, it's definitely like, I think there's a reason why he's not talking to the dad very much. I think the dad basically comes in and he goes like, easy money, he's got to go up, and they're looking in the mirror together. Yeah, no, I had never thought about that, but like, I could see how you would think that. Like, they're definitely. There's definitely a focus on the mom and him, especially because you get that later callback at the bar where she freaks the hell out. But maybe reasonably so. But yeah, I love that scene, man.
Dude, you took one off my list because this was on my list as well. So I'm going to just talk about it for a second, then we can move on because I think you hit all the major points. But great opening. Love the fact that we're opening on Halloween night. You get Corey riding his bike, to the Allen residence, and you kind of. I always look at that scene when he says we're going to have fun tonight, or whatever he says. Yeah. He says something like that. I kind of almost look at that as. I don't know why, but I almost look at that as a nod to the everyone's entitled to one good scare sort of. Like that's the vibe I get. And I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks that, but when he says that is what my brain references is everyone's entitled to one good scare. But yeah, I love the fact that, the Jeremy is this little shit, that's supposedly scared of Michael Myers. And she goes into this whole thing about how he's been wetting the bed and that he's, scared at night. But then he wants to watch this monster movie. And, you see this gory graphic scene of this dude getting his head ripped off. And Corey is like, maybe we shouldn't be watching this. And that's when sort of the whole thing breaks down. You see the knife sitting on the cutting board. And, then it's gone. And you're like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh shit, this is Michael. Like I was kind of starting to put the pieces together that something was going to go wrong. I knew enough about the movie that there was going to be a second character who's going to be introduced as a like pseudo killer kind of thing. So I figured somehow Corey was going to be connected with the murder, but I was thinking Michael the whole time, especially when the knife was missing. But yeah, then obviously you get the, you know, him banging on the door and you know, telling, you know, Jeremy to let him out. And then, you know, I'm going to kill you, Jeremy. And then the freaking kid takes a dive off the balcony. So great scene. You brought up a good point. Every single opening of every single David Gordon Green film in this trilogy, fantastic, really sets the tone for the film. And yeah, very well done. Very well done scene.
And the Michael comparisons kick off right off the bat when she looks up and she says, like, "What have you done?"
Yes.
You see him in a perfect recreation of the 1978 kind of famous, like if you Google Michael Myers, usually one of the first pictures to show up is Michael Myers at the top of the staircase with his knife looking down. And, you know, you get that exact same shot with Jeremy holding his, you know, it's like a bread knife, but yeah, dude, amazing.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. So let's move on. I've got one more left on my list, so I'm gonna go ahead and knock this one out. Not sure where it compares for yours, but it's the final showdown scene between Laurie and Michael in the kitchen, and then what transpires after that with the processional. I get it. A lot of people hate the fact that Michael was, you know, killed off. I get that, but I just thought it was the fact that you know, that they had this battle scene, and that you know, Michael was eventually obviously stopped and he was killed by Laurie and Allison. Allison kind of comes in the, you know, the ninth inning and snaps Michael's arm, and then they frickin' you know, stab his hand back to the table. But you know, slit his wrist, and he's bleeding out all over the place. But then I love the processional scene that comes after that. It's just it's a little bit fake in the sense that the whole town comes together in like a matter of like 7 seconds. But you know, who the hell knows? I also like the fact that you know, there's some chatter between the police. Like, this is not how this is done. This is not what's supposed to happen here. And you know, the sheriff, whoever, I don't even know what his name is, but he's just like, don't, this is happening. This is what's happening tonight, because it was like cathartic in a way for the town to officially put an end to Michael. And they got him strapped down to the roof of I think it's Allison's car, and driving him out. And then they pass his body over the crowd of people, obviously leading to the junkyard, you know, trash compactor, whatever the hell you want to call it, grinder. And you see Michael get turned into dog food.
Yeah. No, so this didn't make my list, but it was this close to it. I love the way that final whole, once Laurie like fakes suicide, everything after that is so great. And even that scene, but it just really ramps up from there when, you know, obviously you get Corey who goes out in a very Corey way with his, if I can't have her, no one can. And he stabs himself in the neck and cuts himself, and he drops. You've got Allison walks in. It's another like, oh, walking into a horrible situation moment in Halloween Ends, where it looks like Laurie just butchered Corey. And
yeah, kind of a little bit of a callback to the opening scene where Allison is like, what did you do? You know, what did you do? What have you done? And
you mean the mom?
The mom, the Jeremy. It's sort of a callback, you know, parallels that scene.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like, you now wonder, is Laurie, like, is she going to be the bad guy? Like, how is this going to affect Laurie? And, you know, she eventually like settles down. She's got her gun in her lap, and then she notices the door is open. And just that shot, man, in the theaters, I think we probably looked at each other like, oh shit, like now it is real Halloween. And, you know, you see him grab the mask, and Corey is still like hanging on by a thread. And I think he just like grabs his neck or his head, and he twists and
doesn't he stomp on him?
He might stop on him.
I don't remember now.
So I have
you have zero excuse.
Not remember.
No, I'm sticking to the October thing. It's been 6 months for me. You have no excuse.
No, not at all.
Either way, right. Yeah.
He does give the final nail in the coffin to Corey. And in my head, that's always sort of been like a, listen here, you are not Michael Myers. I am.
Right.
And then obviously you've got the great final battle, very brutal. I mean, like they beat the shit out of each other. And I think that's what people wanted. There was a scene where he's taking her hand into the garbage disposal and you're thinking Laurie's going to have a banged up hand. That would be 3 banged up hands in one movie, one too many. So I'm glad that they didn't go that route. Obviously the funeral procession, you see a lot of the returning characters throughout the new trilogy. Great way to end it. And then, I think that leads perfectly actually into my last moment. So I'm going to say that, maybe my moment starts after Michael is dead with that funeral procession, but it also goes into the very last shot of the movie. I love the kind of the way that they had Laurie narrate that whole movie as she's writing her autobiography. That's definitely going to need a few extra chapters. I love the way that, we finally get obviously, we heard Matt from Halloween Daily News talk about how this is really Laurie's trilogy, and getting that final monologue from Laurie at the end of Halloween Ends where, she's saying evil doesn't die, it changes shape. I love the way that plays out. You see Allison and her are, the whole did she kill Corey thing has obviously been cleared up.
Right.
She has her whatever rose blossom, cherry blossom
cherry
moment
blossoms.
with Officer Hawkins. And, it's a good way to wrap it up. And then anybody who knows me in real life knows that Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper is my favorite song of all time. Nothing even comes close. It is my theme song. It is everything to me. And the fact that, you get your callback to the original opening where you see all the empty rooms that Michael was in. You see it now in daylight. And it's like, wow, it's really over. And then you see that final shot of the mask on that table. And then I was like, bro, how can I hate this movie? I love it. No, so that the real total ending of Halloween Ends is my 5th and final of no particular order favorite moment of the new trilogy.
Love it. Couldn't have said it any better myself. And I agree with you 100%. That ending is awesome. The callback where it's just silence and it's just showing the different rooms throughout her house. And then you get the mask because it's just like, where does this lead us to? Right. I mean, is this some sort of a prediction to another movie that could be coming down the road? Obviously there were stories that Laurie was going to take on the evil, the embodiment of evil that Michael was, and embody Michael, I should say. Just a fantastic way to close out and wrap up, obviously, the trilogy. And couldn't have had a better pick to actually wrap up what we were talking about here tonight, because that is a great scene. And those were our, each of our 5 favorite scenes from that trilogy. We're fans. We've said it before. We're fans, even though we may not like kills quite as much as some people do. We may like ends more than other people. We're just fans. We're just happy that there were, we got to experience that in the theaters, got to live in a world where Michael Myers, ruled again and ruled the big screen, and we weren't getting some cheap, shitty ass, direct to, screen or direct to TV movie. These are big budget, big production movies. And we're big fans, and hopefully we see more of that in the future. So, dude, great picks all around. Always fun to hear that. That's something you and I have never really talked about. And like we said, we had a guest lined up. We were literally 20 minutes into his interview, and we're just having some issues. So we kind of shot from the hip a little bit on this episode, and hopefully it's something that you guys enjoy. But we do need to mention something before we take off for the evening, and that is the fact that we said we were going to show the poll of who won the draft. And we'll go ahead and love it. We'll throw that up on the screen here. We'll throw that up on the screen here for everybody to take a look at. But as you will see, 50-50. How does that even happen? Dude, I was shocked as shit. The poll ended, and we were sitting at 50-50. So for everybody who voted, it was obviously a clean split. You had 50% of the our viewers liked what I did, 50% liked what you did. And I was like, I think you even mentioned like, man, we need to throw it up there again and try to, break that split. But I just thought that was so classic. And it really goes to show that, hey, we both have our good ideas, right? And maybe some people thought my ideas were shit and your ideas were shit. But at the end of the day, a 50-50 split, that's not a bad way to, to wrap up that whole draft episode.
I got a bone to pick with some of you bastards. It was me by a million.
It was.
And then at the very end, it's like a rush of votes came for you. I was
the comeback kid.
I was feeling so good. I was like, oh, he talked all this shit during the episode. But no,
the comeback kid.
It is what it is. I think that just puts higher stakes for the 2024 draft next April, because you best believe we're still going to be doing this a year from now.
That's right.
And speaking of year anniversaries, things that are happening in life, for anybody who's watching this lovely man to my right, your left, stage left, he has a birthday this weekend, and I had something planned for you, a little surprise on the show. It is not able to be shown this week, but
typical letdown.
We're going to have a little belated birthday surprise next week. So
love it.
If you're in the chat, don't even do it for me. Do it for Blaine. Subscribe to the show. Give us a like. Maybe, just send a few dollars through the mail. Anything helps.
My birthday wish this year is that everybody who's watching this hit subscribe. That's my birthday wish. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. Spread the Halloween Lives love. We're your Halloween hangover. We're your people who are out there who are just, they want to spread the Michael Myers love, right? I mean, we're just out there doing the work of our Lord Michael Myers. So
I was gonna say, we're Michael Myers Mormons. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We're out there knocking out people's doors. Have you heard about our Lord and Savior Michael Myers? Yeah. The shape. No, man, this is a fun episode. Like we said, we had a guest on, and we're going to get him back on. I'm not going to make it not going to spoil it for anybody, but we're going to get him back on because he was talking about some really cool things. So, this wraps up episode 16. Can't believe we're here. It's the weekly podcast. We're the only ones out there doing weekly podcast. It's so much fun. We're going to keep this thing going. We've got a fun guest lined up for next week's episode, and can't wait to get her on the program. We'll do a little birthday celebration too, it sounds like. So fun episode. We will catch you guys next time. I am Blaine Duncan. That is my brother, Austin. And you have been watching or listening to Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. We'll see you next time.